So we're back with part two. I was saying
Bands.
to, I said I wanted to piggyback, but I wanted, I guess, really take it back to the beginning when Austin was asking you about that middle part, or excuse me, the beginning, the middle, and the end for you throughout this whole process of like recovery to now where you're at, thriving. Um, is there in fact like points where you can mark like this is when I realized that my actions were detrimental, and that you saw that as the beginning, and then whatever the middle would be, and then the end is like, well, now when I wake up I don't have to worry about fighting this addiction. Now I can worry about pushing my squat 15 more pounds, or getting my bench to that flat 600 now, or like, is that like how you kind of progress? I mean, obviously I'm probably off of my numbers, you've probably been over 600 for a while, but is that kind of is
How
that kind of
dare
how
you?
is
That's
that how
my
you
warm up,
progress
bitch.
through like this whole process, like?
Yes, yeah. So for me, I I guess from the start, when I came back from New York. I spent a year in New York playing baseball and stuff like that. Um, at a school out there, and uh, I only lasted a year out there. I got kicked out of the school and kicked out just I got kicked out of my dorm, and then I got kicked out of the school. Um, but when I came home, that was May of 2015 when I came home. And that summer, a lot of stuff happened. I got arrested and got a DUI, had an overdose. I was in the hospital for actually, I think several times or a couple times that summer. And I ended up in my first rehab August of 2015, and I was basically in and out of rehabs and treatment centers for about 6 or 7 months. Just kind of going in, getting out, using again, going back, getting out, using again, and just kind of doing that whole pattern. Obviously at this point I was doing much harder drugs and, doing a lot of things that I never really saw myself doing. And the drugs that I was doing and the people I was hanging out with and just things like that was just all bad in so many ways. But I was actually in a really horrible car accident in February of 2016. I was in a car accident that was very life-threatening. I was extremely lucky to come out the way that I did of that with that accident. I've been involved in multiple car accidents, but this one was the worst out of them all because my car flipped, and when my car flipped, my face, the left side of my face, smashed out the driver's side window, and I split my eyelid in half, and my whole right or left side of my face right here was swollen, and the car was like on its side when it was like it rolled, and then it was on its side, and I was bleeding a lot, basically, on the sitting in my car on the side, just like bleeding out, and the ambulance came, and I had to be rushed into surgery and stuff like that. And it was really scary, but I survived, and I guess the next day I was just in a completely different place. Like, I don't know, it was kind of like my bottom, I guess you can say, because I didn't realize how serious my problem was. It sounds kind of stupid because it's like, I probably should have realized that the problem was pretty serious when I got kicked out of school, right? But that just wasn't enough. But at that, I guess basically I needed to walk the thin lines of death, right? To kind of realize that this was a real problem. But I checked myself back into rehab and got sober on February 14th of 2016, and I haven't had a drink or a drug since that day, since the 13th. So, you know, God forbid I'll have 5 years in February next year. But when I got sober, I spent about 6 months in rehabs and treatment. And when I got out, that was when Austin and I were talking about the sober living and stuff like that. I started to transition back into regular life. But when I was at a treatment center in Texas, there was a trainer out there. They required us to lift weights on a daily basis, and it was like a really hardcore treatment center. There was like, I didn't have my phone. There was no TV, no music, no anything I was there for 4 months. And, you know, we had to wake up in the morning and do chores every day at 6:30 in the morning. And it was pretty gnarly because I remember when I got out, I hadn't seen a female in 4 months. And I remember talking to a girl for the first time, you know, after not seeing, you know, obviously there's people that spend much longer periods of time in jail and in prison, but I was definitely a little institutionalized, and it was a very shocking thing. But yeah, that's kind of, I would say that was like the real motivator for me to start lifting, was during that time, because there was a trainer out there, and he pushed me to my limit when I was out there, and he designed a program for me for lifting, and you know, he motivated me a lot, I guess. And I got really strong really fast when I was there. And it was obviously, you know, we were eating all the time, and you know, there was nothing else to do besides eat and play volleyball and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but you know, I got strong quick, and when I got out, I just continued it. You know, I continued that program, and it was kind of like a bodybuilding, like, you know, progressive overload type of program. And I did that for a long time because I didn't really know any other way to train besides, you know, the stuff that I did for baseball, but I wasn't pitching anymore. So that type of training wasn't really within my interest. It was kind of more just like bodybuilding at the time. And, you know, I started really noticing a lot of progress, I think, after that. So.
Yeah, I noticed when you got back, you did look a lot bigger when you came back. Because I remember when you left, the last time I saw you, like, you know, I mean, you look like Anne Frank's dad, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like straight up.
Probably about 100. Yeah, like during that time, like so February of 2016 all the way. So I went to Texas in March of that year. And I was about 170 pounds, dude. I was like I was in the 160s for some time. And then when I started eating, I was 170 pounds. When I came in, I was like 162, but obviously, you know, when I started eating and stuff again, because you know, when I was using, I would go, you know, I would eat Carl's Jr. once every like 3 days, and that was about it. And I wasn't sleeping, wasn't doing any of that. So, you know, staying awake for 7-8 days at a time, and just so that's kind of how I lost all the weight. And then when I came in, I started eating again. But yeah, I would say I was about 170 when I first started like lifting again.
What do you weigh right now?
I'm about 235 right now. Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, dude. And you're eating a little healthier now. You're a little healthy, Alec, now. Yeah. I've heard through the grapevine.
Man.
You're carb control, Alec, now. Not
it's more
three Raising Cane's 3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's only once a week now.
Yeah. So earlier this, like I would say about maybe 5 months ago, I was 200. I stepped on the scale. I was 247, and I just felt slow and sluggish and bloated and just like I didn't feel very good at that weight.
Yeah.
Not because I can't sit at that weight. I think maybe someday when I'm, in a few years, I can kind of sit at that weight naturally and be comfortable. But
yeah,
before, I was just slow and just felt like shit. So I started eating a little healthier. I switched over to like leaner meats like chicken and turkey and stuff like that. I also started eating more fish and stuff instead of like eating cheeseburgers and red meat all the time. And I also have been trying to eat more cleaner carbs, instead of the sugary bagels every morning and the Eggo waffles. It's
yeah,
starting to switch over to oatmeal and rice and stuff like that. So
instead of like half a box of apple cinnamon Cheerios.
yeah. The Lucky Charm. It was the Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops, dude. Every single morning.
Dude.
I was so heavy. I was strong now. I'm way strong. It's crazy because I've lost like 12, 13 pounds since earlier this past summer. And I'm way stronger now at a much lighter weight. So
what are your numbers right now? What do you
think? The numbers?
Because you said you're doing your maxes this week or next week, right?
Yeah. So I was actually planning on competing this fall. I was supposed to, but the meets have been kind of weird. Like the competitions have been weird. Some of them are still happening, some of them aren't. And I kind of just decided, my coach and I kind of just decided that we should just do more of a mock meet type of thing, or just put together some maxes and then compete in the spring next year. So I've been working with a coach for 7 months now, 6-7 months, and training vigorously. So this means, I have a plan. I have the exact weights that I'm supposed to be moving every single week, and there's a certain rep range. So I'm supposed to lift the X amount of pounds per week, and it's all divided up in a specific rep regimen. So I'm basically, it's very calculated. It's interesting how the whole thing works. But right now, so next week I'm deloading, which means that I'm going to be lifting much lighter weight and much lower rep ranges to give my body a rest for an entire week. And then once I do my deload week, then the following week I'm going to be doing my maxes. So that means I'm maxing on squat, I'm maxing on deadlift, and I'm maxing on bench. So my squat, since I'm squatting raw now, I'm no longer using wraps. I'm using knee sleeves, which is a lot harder. I'm looking at maybe a 633 to 640 range for the squat. And then for bench, I'm looking at anywhere from like 500 to 510. And then for deadlift, hopefully 700.
I can't even squat that, dude. I can't even squat 500 pounds.
You could deadlift it though, but still.
No, I don't think so, dude.
Yeah, you can. Hex bar.
hex bar. Hex bar.
Yeah, trap bar.
Trap
bar.
Yeah.
It's what we do though, man. I mean, all my workouts and everything I do, it's so interesting how powerlifting works, because the way we train it's a very complex form of training for such a basic outcome. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I'm doing all kinds of different shit and different movements all geared towards 3 simple movements.
Yeah, that's so weird how you put. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So everything I do when I hit legs, I'm doing it to make my squat stronger. When I'm doing upper body, I'm doing it to make my bench stronger. And on deadlift days, the same thing. Everything I do is to make my deadlift bigger. So, but yeah, hopefully, for my weight class, the international elite total that I need is 1854. So all the weights. So like the way powerlifting works is that you have squat, bench, deadlift, and all 3 of your best lifts add into a total. So I need 1854 to be an international elite lifter. So that means that I can compete at the national stage and make money lifting. So the goal is to qualify for a national meet. It should be very easy to do in the spring, at least for me, because I'm like 18, 30, 40 right now. And then in the spring, it'll just be night and day. So.
Jesus
Christ.
I'm trying, meanwhile, like I'm over
My
here
legs.
trying to go pro. Yeah.
Oh,
dude.
I would be shaking just looking at the weight on the bar, not even actually trying to move it.
I know, dude.
I mean, the last thing that I wanted to touch on was just like through all of this, like obviously your maturation process has been so much faster than the average like person in their life. And it's scary to think about, but like what you've been doing for the past 3-4 years, like living on your own, getting your own work schedule, like even small things, grocery shopping, waking yourself up, getting to work on time every day, like going to school, like all that shit combined is like a lot to deal with. And the scary part, I feel like for me at least, is like Austin and I are going to be there in the next year or two. And it's just like, how do you get through that? Because I'm sure there's lulls and times when you're just like, I'm fucking sore. I don't want to go lift today. Like that bitch last week at work really had me on one, like not trying to see her again. Like just things like that. Like how do you just keep pushing through that?
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. I had to do it very young, man. I mean, I didn't have any other options. My situation is probably much different than the average 23-year-old. Because I've been doing this whole thing for years now, but I had to learn how to do it when I was 19. My parents were obviously not supporting me at the time. I had to basically, like, I had no other choice. Basically, if I wanted to have a job and like put food on the table and pay bills and stuff like that, I had to ride my bike to work. I had to learn how to get into a routine. I had to learn how to pay bills. I had to learn how to do all that stuff very quickly, 19, 20 years old, mainly because I didn't have an option, because I knew with everything that I put my parents through, they were not going to help me with anything, and I had to figure it out on my own. And obviously, when I started to show that I was able to do these things, my parents have definitely, helped me with all kinds of different things. But it's funny because for a lot of people, especially college kids, it can be a very scary thing when you're in college and you have support from the parents and bills are just not really a thing you think about, and you're more focused on your classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you get out and you have a degree and you have a job and you have a stable career because you've worked so hard for 4 to 5 to 6 years, however long you're in school getting a degree for, or if you decide to get a master's or go further, it's not that difficult, surprisingly. And I don't think very many people have to be worried about it, because ultimately, as an adult, the only things that you have to worry about are um, being responsible in a sense where you're showing up to work on time and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and income will be earned that way. And when your income is earned because you're being responsible and showing up to work and doing the things you have to do, handling bills is not hard. It's very easy, I think. And as long as you, I guess, have some sort of drive and determination, it's a lot more simple than you think. Because I think if 90%, 80% of Americans can do it, we can too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I've been thinking, because I remember, me and Casey have been talking about this a lot, like nonstop. Just like, geez,
Yeah.
dude, we're like, we're coming close to, becoming adults. And yeah, like you're such a good example of like someone who's just totally taken the whole maturation process and just totally sped it up. And like, I always joke about how like, you're this like 35-year-old, when in reality, you're so much younger than that. And it's sometimes like I forget that, and it's just crazy. And I was gonna ask you like what, like, especially in this climate now, because I remember you and I were talking about our last episode, with degrees might not matter, or they might matter more, are people going to have jobs and stuff? Like, how do you think kids are going to survive, after they graduate? Like I was just going to ask, like, what exactly do you think, like, what do you think is like going to happen? Because I know you watched the debate and whatnot, and you're familiar with, COVID.
I mean, preface that with the fact that this guy is going for like one of the hardest degrees that you can earn right now. So with that being said, like, how do you see that degree, I guess, going up in value or potentially down in the next however many years, I guess?
Yeah. Because I know there's been a huge drop in enrollment in colleges, I'm pretty sure. So like, what do you think?
I don't think people need to go to college to make a living. There's all kinds of different jobs. I think, I don't know. I think America is such an amazing country, and the way it's outlined for people, for American citizens, is just incredible. It's like no other country. There's trade schools, there's different types of things you can do to have a career and make a pretty damn good living. There's the police academy, there's the fire academy. You can become a plumber or an electrician. You can be, there's entrepreneurship in all kinds of different areas. You have the stock market, you have people who are actually learning computer programming through online courses and learning how to write computer programs and make software without college educations, and getting paid a really significant amount of money doing that. There's just all kinds of different things like that that I think people can go into without college degrees. But I think it just depends on the individual. Like, I think you guys are right. The value of a bachelor's degree from a university has gone down significantly since the 1960s. If you look at kind of how kind of society has gone over since since the 1960s, and how education has turned since then, it's gone down a lot. So I don't know if you guys know, in the 1960s, Lyndon B. Johnson passed a bill that allowed, this was when student loans were kind of, the whole student loan thing started in the 60s. And basically, this is pretty much how student loans started and how student debt started, man. And it wasn't really like a problem right before like 2000, but then after 2000, it's become like a huge issue. There's like what is it, like $1 billion or $1 trillion total in
Something like
student
that.
debt in America. Yeah, so there's a shit ton now, but I guess nowadays kids like us who are getting degrees, it definitely depends on the degree you get. Every field is competitive, so regardless of, if you're doing an engineering degree, if you're doing a kinesiology degree or an English degree or a business degree, it's all competitive. Everybody's going to have one. So I think it's important for people like us to not necessarily not get degrees because everyone else has one. I think it's important for everybody to have one if they have the opportunity to get one. But if you do have one and you have a degree, you have to understand that the value of that is not as great as it used to be. And if you have that understanding that the value of this education that I have is not that, it's not as big as it used to be, and it's not as, I guess, valuable, what's going to set you apart from everybody else? What is your determination and your drive look like? What does your work ethic look like? How are you different from other people? And that right there is the driving force that can make people great with college degrees. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the goals for people like us who are college students have to be different than what they used to be. It's no longer get a degree, and once you have a degree, you get a job. That's not how it works anymore. Because once you get a degree, you're not guaranteed a job, like maybe in the 90s. It's not like that anymore. So what's going to set people like us apart? What do we have to show for ourselves? When we're going through this process of getting a degree, what have we done previously in our lives that sets us apart from other people who are going to apply to the same job as you, who have better GPAs than you do, who have better, who are smarter than you, who are all these kinds of things? How are you going to be better than them? And that's where the work ethic comes in that people don't recognize, I feel like,
Yeah.
Insightful.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that actually. Yeah, it's interesting because I've been thinking about it, and like I know of a few people who've taken a break or just totally dropped out completely because they're like, it's pointless, it's a waste of money, all this and that, and
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's there. Yeah, so there's like really only two directions you can go with it, because like it's either get a bachelor's degree, or get your degree, or how about, or rather not get a degree or get a even higher degree. So like either not have one at all or get like a master's or like a PhD or something like that. So it's like, it's kind of spooky, and I guess with that, but I think it's comforting knowing that, like, I mean, if you were to just get a bachelor's degree and you decide not to go further with it, I feel, because I know, at least in my industry, like there's like most of the people in my industry don't have a lot of education. They just have good looks, a good body, and they know how to talk. Like a lot of people who make the most
important.
Yeah. So like a lot of the people, at least like I said in my industry, like they at least a lot of the people that I've like looked at and followed, they don't even have a college degree in health science or exercise science, nutrition, or anything. They just have, a really good body, good looks, and they have maybe, they won a few bodybuilding shows or something, that's the extent of their experience. So, it's sort of like now, I don't know, that for me, like that, what you just said just kind of gives me sort of a, incentive to sort of like get the degree. So now with the degree, I can focus on all that other stuff, the work ethic, getting the body to to go with the degree and the knowledge, so it could be, I could have the fitness, the epitome of what people want, like the vision of what people want, like my body. People look at that, they're like, oh, I want to look like that, so they come to me, for that help, for that advice. And but I also have the knowledge and just to actually back it up, rather than just giving a bunch of bro science bullshit, so because there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's comforting, at least for me. I don't know about for you, Casey, but I'm chilling
I'm still
over here.
terrified.
Okay, so that didn't help at all.
No, it helped. It's like, yeah, it's just like, I feel like we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna get out in the world. We're gonna fail. We're gonna succeed. We're gonna have to take it on the chin and wear it and just keep pushing, keep going. I feel like the only time that we'll ever feel as comfortable with what he said is when we're at his point. We're at Alec's point. We've already taken it on the chin. We've already failed and succeeded. And now we kind of have our routine. We know how to go about, winning the day, I guess. So whatever Navy SEALs say, win the day. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of thing is, I feel like for me at least, maybe that scared factor is going to be what pushes me to, work hard, improve my work ethic, and that is going to be my drive and determination. Because thus far, it honestly has been that for me. Like the scared factor of failure is what a lot of times keeps me pushing to be better, do better, and succeed the next time. But
and I think I try to remind myself, because Alec even said like he had no other choice. My parents, like, they couldn't help him anymore. He was on his own. And I think that's what is good for us, is because we have our families. We have people that are going to help. Like I have Alec also. Everyone, like, there's people for us that will help us out and, like, obviously, guide us, during these,
troubled times.
Troubled and transformational times. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Transitioning on to the next chapter, I think, won't be as bad as I think we think. But yeah, it is still a little scary. But,
and then push comes to shove, Mason will employ us all. So
yeah, dude, I'll just the Mason O'Hanlon, O'Hanlon Industries, whatever he comes up with, dude. Well, I'll be his janitor. Gold-plated janitor. Yeah, exactly. Well, dude,
we appreciate you
it?
coming on. I mean, I've picked it. I've got everything.
Yeah.
That I think that'll keep me going. I mean, we'd love to have you on in the future. Maybe that time we'll just talk about lifting. You guys give me some tips. I'm gonna be on my weight loss journey. I don't want to.
Yeah, dude, you keep talking the talk. Let's see that walk, dude.
Well, I've dropped 10 pounds already. I just like.
I know. Yeah, I'm proud of you,
like
man.
200 even. Maybe not. So if I'm back in California, maybe I'll come lift out with you guys, Alec, if that's cool. But I'll be a little bit. Man. My numbers will be a little bit lower, significantly lower.
But, dude,
man, that doesn't matter.
But thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
bro.
guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Insightful.
Yeah,
all right.
Hell yeah. Hope you enjoyed it, people. See ya.